In 2017, Saraki and the National Endowment for Democracy, NED, began their joint work to promote the challenge of making the 2018 general elections inclusive, aiming at all people with disabilities, as well as indigenous peoples, Afro-descendants, young people and women, as transversal axis of these populations, have access to electoral information and with this, give them more tools to exercise their right to vote. The project dealt with three main issues: work with vulnerable groups, the political component, and an electoral observation. We started working with civil society organizations of indigenous groups, Afro-descendants, women, students, and people with disabilities to involve them in the project and create a coalition that seeks to shed light on the existing needs in the groups. One of our first actions was to make a compilation of priorities recommendations for each of the sectors and a guide of appropriate communication for each of the groups in a situation of vulnerability, which would be passed on to the presidential candidates and their advisory teams. We also work with the media to share our needs and recommendations and the use of the correct terminology and communication adjustments necessary for the information to reach everyone in Paraguay.
La Fundación Saraki está haciendo visitas a todos los precandidatos a la presidencia de la República y es que buscan lograr la inclusión dentro de la agenda país.
But our main objective as a coalition was to commit the efforts of the presidential candidates to include in their government proposals the recommendations built in a participatory manner with the organizations of each of the sectors, which will seek their future implementation with a view to the social inclusion as of August 15, 2018. We succeeded in that the five main candidates, two from the ANR, two from the PLRA, and one from the left, commit themselves in writing by signing a letter of commitment to include in their government proposals the recommendations of the coalition, and if elected President of the Republic, to implement them. At the same time, we train leaders of people with disabilities, indigenous peoples, and Afro-descendants on the right to vote and how to access them. After the primaries, the two main candidates for the presidency of Paraguay for the period 2018-2023 listened to the demonstration of the sectors and reaffirmed their commitment to fulfill our requests. The third phase was the electoral observation that was held in 198 voting stations, 17 departments, and more than 289 observers that promoted citizen control and transparency in the general elections of Paraguay, becoming involved in the search for a more inclusive society. 21.61% of the observers were persons with disabilities participating for the first time. The goal was to recognize the conditions of the polling facilities, the information stand, and the general conditions of accessibility that guarantee the voters' freedom of voting, and mainly compliance with the resolution of accessible voting, and support the two presidential candidates during the scrutiny. Today in Paraguay, 11.4% of the population has some disability. 1.7% of the population is indigenous. 28.6% are young, and 49.6% are women. Together, we represent a great majority of the population of the country. Many of these people had never participated in electoral processes or were not included in the electoral register. The challenge is clear and remains latent. Because if we all vote, we can do more.